Imagine holding a timepiece where the dial is just so incredibly rich, so deep in color, it seems to capture light. And here's the real kicker, those colors. They will literally never fade. Not in your lifetime, not in your great-great-grandchild's. I'm talking about true enamel. It's an ancient craft, perfected over centuries, takes unbelievable patience, skill, and a lot of heat.
Yeah, it really is the total opposite of the fast-paced, kind of disposable digital world we're all living in now. And yet, this deep dive we're doing, it shows us this rare, traditional artistry it's crashing headfirst into modern tech and even geopolitics.
Absolutely. So our mission today is focused entirely on one company, VSDL. They're a highly specialized watchmaker operating right here in the US. We've pulled together everything we have on their craft, their unique spot in the American market, their pricing, and some very distinct choices they've made about digital certificates and global politics.
It's a really fascinating mix, isn't it? Old world skill meets modern branding. We really need to get to the core question. What makes this enamel dial worth all that incredible effort and the premium price tag, especially when, you can tell time on a screen that costs pennies to make?
Okay, let's unpack this then. We have to start with the craft itself. What exactly is enamel when we're talking about a watch dial, and why does it take so much time?
Well, think of it like painting with glass. Enamel is basically powdered glass, silica, that gets applied to a metal base, the watch dial in this case, and then it's fired in a kiln. We're talking temperatures over 800 degrees Celsius. The process is just incredibly demanding. It needs multiple layers, multiple firings, and every single firing risks destroying the piece completely.
Wow, that sounds like a technical nightmare. So much precision, but also just incredible risk involved. If one layer of color or just one firing goes wrong, the entire dial, after maybe weeks of work, is just ruined.
Exactly. That's why it's so rare. And, every finished piece is unique because that glass fusing process, the vitrification, guarantees tiny variations. So each one is truly one of a kind, deeply beautiful, and crucially incredibly durable.
Right, that durability factor. That's the real historical argument for this art form, isn't it? It's beyond utility, it becomes about permanence.
It really does. The key benefit and the thing that justifies all that artisanal effort and the high failure rate is that the color and the finish. They're chemically stable, they will never fade, never oxidize, never degrade because of UV light. The sources we looked at remind us you can walk into a museum today and see clocks, pocket watches, centuries old, and the enamel faces are just as vivid, just as bright as the day they were made. So it's not just owning a beautiful watch, it's owning a piece of enduring, stable art.
And VSDL seems to have categorized their work based on the kind of artistic desire they're fulfilling. They offer complex imagery like in their legendary Creature and Artmaster collections, but also more practical classical styles like the Easy Reader. And then their collections like Style of Life, Delicate Partner, and The Legacy. It shows they're trying to apply this really demanding technique across a pretty broad spectrum of client interests, from high art to just daily elegance.
That range definitely seems strategic. But the real story here, I think, pivots from that old world craft to the company's very distinct identity. VSDL isn't some ancient firm hidden away in Switzerland. They are distinctly American and founded just a few years back.
Which is fascinating in itself. VSDL was set up in January 2017 in Hartford, Connecticut. But what makes this American origin so crucial is their very specific claim in the market.
Right. Their sources really emphasize two major points that set them apart in the luxury watch world. First, VSDL is stated as the only workshop and leading producer of enamel watches in the entire United States. That alone makes them stand out from the mostly Swiss or, sometimes Japanese landscape.
And they take it even further. They really cement their connection to the craft by stating they are the only independent watchmaker in the US that designs and produces its own enamel dials entirely in-house. That means total control, vertical integration over the hardest part of the watch. They control the quality, the failure rate, the final look, right from the raw glass powders.
And that level of direct control seems to trace right back to the founder, Volodymyr Say. He's listed as product manager, enameler, and watchmaker. That's quite a triple threat. He's a graduate of the International Center of Jewelry Art and apparently brought over a decade of experience with enamel and porcelain from the high-end jewelry world.
So he's not just running the business, he is the master artisan overseeing every single step. His stated mission for VSDL was to introduce this rich European tradition of luxury enamel watches to the American market, transforming individual artistic visions into these enduring timepieces. So they're taking this high European heritage but executing it locally. That becomes a key part of their brand story, I guess.
And this commitment to local, in-house, master-led production, it naturally translates into a premium price point. Let's look at their structure a bit. The Art Master series, that seems to showcase the finest dial painting. It offers examples like the Art Master Blue Paillet, listed at $3,800, and the Bengal Tiger at $3,500.
Okay, now, for someone maybe not deep in the high-end market, $3,500, $3,800, that sounds pretty expensive for a watch. But you mentioned earlier that client reviews actually praise the price as attractive compared to the competition. We need to put that into context. Why would that pricing be seen as attractive?
Yeah, that's where you really need to understand the market. If you're looking at true Grand Fou enamel or miniature painted enamel watches from the big traditional Swiss houses, think brands like Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, maybe even certain independent artisans. The entry point for a bespoke, high-quality enamel dial piece usually starts in the high five figures, often $30,000, $50,000, and way up from there.
Ah, okay. So VSDIL is positioned to offer this rare in-house enamel dial, a craft usually, say, for the most exclusive, almost prohibitively expensive luxury tier, but at a price point that, well, it's still premium, but it makes it accessible to a much broader group of collectors. That $3,800 suddenly looks like potentially exceptional value for that level of unique craftsmanship.
Precisely. And because these are essentially bespoke, high-value art pieces, VSDIL really emphasizes the tailoring aspect. Their Art Master Showcase highlights enamel watches that can be tailored to your personal preference.
And that focus on customization, on the artistry, it must demand just a fanatical level of quality control, which the sources do seem to highlight.
Oh, absolutely. They detail a rigorous multi-stage process. It involves design approval, careful assembly, extensive testing, and then a final inspection of accuracy. This isn't just about making sure the movement ticks, it's about ensuring that unique enamel dial, the high-risk, high-value component, is absolutely flawless. They're essentially guaranteeing both the quality and the uniqueness for the client.
And rigorous quality demands rigorous traceability, right? Which brings us to where VSDIL takes that perfect, permanent physical object and gives it a very modern, maybe surprisingly ephemeral, digital certificate. They issue NFT certificates for their watches.
It is quite a striking contradiction, isn't it? Pairing the physical longevity of something designed to last centuries with a decentralized digital ledger. But what's fascinating here is the function of that NFT. They aren't just creating some digital art piece, they're creating immutable proof of origin provenance.
So for the luxury buyer, the NFT isn't just a fancy digital token then. It's really an anti-counterfeiting measure and permanent proof of ownership and authenticity.
Exactly that. When you buy an object that's meant to last for maybe 500 years, you need a certificate that's just as resistant to being lost or forged or destroyed. An NFT, linked permanently to that physical watch, acts like that tamper-proof, unchangeable digital deed. It helps justify its high value and ensures its legacy. It's using the very newest tech to protect the oldest craft.